Today, we're going to be covering our Victory Life Church approver policy. And to start off, I wanted to cover with you real quick a little bit of the why behind the policy. So we made this policy because we wanted to make sure that if you were asked to be an approver, that you had all of the training and skills that you needed to do that job appropriately. So we'll cover in the policy some of the things you need to know that are requirements as an approver, and even give you some tools of things you can use as resources to help you do your job well. So on our training agenda today, we're going to cover your responsibilities as an approver. We're going to go over working with your direct reports and some of the things you will do to provide ongoing training for them, as well as even talk a little bit about how the expense reports will tie into the budgets for the people that are submitting to you. Then towards the end, we'll talk about some procedures areas and go over your expense workflows and even give you some resources that can help you determine if things were accurately paid for and in the side of a reasonable amount for hotels and for travel meals. So to start off the policy section, we want to look at the number one thing is that you make sure that the expense reports are submitted properly. Now, what we mean by being submitted properly is mainly tied up in 4 areas. So number one is that expense reports balances should match the credit card statement balance. And you can get those on the gotomycard.com website, and you can check the expense report balance with the balance of the credit card statement. Now, number 2, purchases should be coded correctly. And when we say coded, we mean that they have the correct location, department, project, and purpose attached to them. And that also ties into the budgeting area and determines where those expenses are paid for from. Now, number 3, purchases should be expensed correctly. So when we're talking about being expensed, this is the item that you're going to pick that's called a category on Expensify. So things such as travel meals, entertainment meals, supplies, other equipment purchases, those are expense types. So you need to make sure if there's a purchase that comes through from a restaurant, and let's say it was for a meal, that they did not code it somewhere like equipment purchase, because that would be incorrect. All right, number 4, you want to make sure that the purchases they make align with our credit card policy and our travel and meals policy. So if you see anything in there that's out of line, such as maybe they bought something and they had sales tax on it, that'd be out of line with our credit card policy. We're supposed to ensure that we get everything sales tax exempt when possible. So those will be things you're looking for. If they had a travel meal, and let's say they had an overnight travel and they spent $100 on one meal by themselves, which I know is crazy, but let's just say that happened, that would be out of line with our $40 a day allowance for travel meals. So those will be the things you'll be looking for. Again, going through making sure that the report's balanced, that they're coded correctly, they're expensed correctly, and they're in alignment with our policies. So number 2 on our policy is to ensure that reports are correct. Now, some of this we just talked about in the previous slide, but the things you're going to be doing is you're going to be reviewing the line items on the report, and you're paying especially close attention to areas like travel meals or entertainment meals, things that we know have a few more requirements on our policies. So you're going to be looking over that. All right, number 3 on our policies is to provide ongoing training for your submitters. So what this kind of looks like is, again, remember, number 1, they've had training videos and they've had some walkthroughs that have been written where they can have for reference provided to them. So what you're going to be doing is helping to make sure that if they put through an expense and they've coded it wrong or they expensed it incorrectly, that you provide the ongoing training with them to tell them what they did wrong and how to correct it next time. So that'll be your role, is continuing that training and education piece just on the ongoing basis to help them navigate any mistakes they've made and how to fix them. Number 4 policy is that you as an approver are responsible to know the budgets for any areas you approve over. So if somebody's submitting to you and it's not something you're familiar with, you need to go get access to your budgets, look it up, and find out, number 1, were they making purchases that were already approved and inside the budgets? Or if not, did they talk with you beforehand and get approval from you to do something that might have been not in your budget or that you needed to modify in the budget? All right, next I want to cover just a few procedures with you, just to kind of let you know kind of the workflow of the expense report from beginning to end. So When an expense report is submitted, it's going to come from the submitter and it'll go to you as their approver. Once you approve it, it's going to come to the accounting department and we're going to do a final review of those reports just to make sure we agree with all the coding, all the expensing, that everything looks correctly, that you have all the receipts attached, things of that nature. So we'll do a review of that. If we find anything that needs to be corrected, what we're going to do is we're going to notify you as the approver. And this is a little bit of a change from how we've done things in the past. But what we'll do is, again, any corrections will go to you. And the great thing is in Expensify, you can actually modify the reports yourself. So you don't have to have your submitter do it. If it's something quick and easy and you see the correction, you can just make the correction yourself. And then again, it'll be part of your responsibility, like we mentioned in point number 3, to provide the ongoing training for your submitter so that they know that they made a mistake and they don't make it going forward. But again, that's kind of up to you as an approver to decide whether you want your submitter to make the correction or if you just want to do it for them, do it on the fly and do it quickly. Really cool thing is in Expensify, there's a comment section that'll show any changes you make, so you can kind of use that as a reference tool if you need to go back and talk through it with your submitters. Okay, so this is the last item on our list to talk about today. We're going to talk about some approver resources for you that's going to help equip you to make decisions as you're approving expense reports. So number one thing I want to talk to you about real quick is travel meals. So in our travel meal policy, we have a $40 a day allowance for employees while they're on overnight travel. And we recognize that in some areas of the country that may not be sufficient. There are areas of the country such as in California, New York, that have higher cost of living and it costs more to eat there. So if your submitters go into one of those areas and they feel like the $40 a day won't be sufficient for them, what they can do is talk to you about that. And there's a resource we're giving you called the GSA website. I'm going to show you that in a minute on my screen, but just talk to you about it real quick. Is on the GSA website you can actually look up where they're going and find the meal rate and see if there's a higher rate you could use for that area based upon a higher cost of living. Same thing goes for hotels. Again, the GSA website has a list of standard hotel rates for different towns, cities, and states. So if they're going somewhere and you look at it and think, man, their hotel cost seems really high, you could go compare it to the GSA website and see if their cost may actually be reasonable in that area. So let's go ahead and I'll flip over my screen and show you the GSA website and we'll talk through how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go pick on California because I know that they're a little bit more expensive than other areas of the country. And for examples, I'm going to type in Fresno, California. So let's say one of your employees is going to travel to Fresno, California for an event overnight. So I'm going to click on Find Rates. So what you should see now is it's going to come up with your primary destination and it's going to give you a list of hotel costs by month of the year. So if they were traveling out in September, you would already know what the rate was for September 2018. And what you can also see is they also have a number for meals and incidentals. So I'll show you how to get a meal and incidental cost for them, but right now I just want you to know if the hotel cost that they're quoting you seems high to you, you can always come compare it to these rates and see if the hotel rate that your employee found is reasonable. Now, for their travel meals, like I said, we allow for $40 a day by default. Now, I'm going to show you right down here, you'll see it says breakdown of meals and incidental expenses. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to show you how we got the $40 a day cost. So here's the GSA table of the meals and expense breakdown, and how we got our $40 a day is we took this $51 base rate, which most of the areas in the country fall into, and we just removed the breakfast cost. So 11 minus 51, we got $40 a day. We believe that most places we go and stay in hotels, they provide breakfast, so you wouldn't have to purchase breakfast, and then you would only have to purchase lunch and dinner. Now, if you go to an area, like I said, Fresno, California, they fell into the $64 rate. So if you want to find out how much you think is reasonable for your employees, you can take the $64 minus the breakfast rate, which will give you $46 allowed per day. And you can do that for any area. If it was the $74, the highest rate in the table, take that 74 minus 17 and you would get $57 allowed for the day. So that's the easy way for you to look at this and find out what rates should be used for different areas of the country if your employees feel like they can't stay inside those policy budgeted amounts. If you have any other questions on this, need help or guidance, please feel free to reach out to us at accounting@victorylifechurch.com. You can always also reach out to me directly at cody.maynard@victorylifechurch.com as well. Thanks.